Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, information on a possible assault in Victoria. For a second day in federal court in Victoria, attorneys challenging and defending a Biden administration immigration policy. And 2 police officers in stable condition after a shooting rampage in San Antonio this week.
104 degrees and counting, 111 with the real feel, but we might see a cool down after the weekend. We'll talk all about it coming up in just a bit.
Plus, over 650 inmates evacuated from a prison in Huntsville overnight due to a large fire. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon. Thanks for being with us. I'm Don Brubaker. James Munoz and Karina Garcia have the day off. Victoria Police investigating a possible assault this week. Victoria police officers responded to a residence in the 900 block of Lawndale Avenue. Officers talked with a woman there who was involved in a disturbance. Officers found that the woman had been assaulted by another family member. The offender left the home before officers arrived. No arrest or citation were issued. We have an update from the FAA on a fatal helicopter crash near Port O'Connor on March 6th. The pilot of the helicopter, Dr. Glenn Ide, and a passenger, 50-year-old Arcelia Cisneros, died when they crashed. The helicopter, a Robinson R-44-2, was traveling from Port O'Connor to the Calhoun County Port Lavaca Airport. The FAA reports the weather was below visual flight rules minimums. Fog was blowing and no known flight plan was filed. The FAA says at one point the pilot made a quick descent to about 50 feet while turning back to the right, where it eventually hit the ground. The helicopter was destroyed. The arguments continued Friday between the state of Texas and social justice immigration groups and the federal government over a parole program allowing the temporary stay of migrants in the U.S. In final arguments from the defense, it was suggested that the states call for an injunction against just the Latin American countries involved in the program and not Ukrainian citizens as being racist. District Judge Drew Tipton disagreed that the state's choice to exclude Ukraine is racist. After the trial ended the afternoon, a post-trial briefing scheduled for September, a written decision by Judge Tipton expected to be made in October. Water supply lines bursting in El Campo about twice per day as summer heat causes ground shifts, but so far there's still plenty running through the pipes. The El Campo Leader News reports the only strain right now, officials say, is on the crews who struggle each day to patch the lines in the heat. And now let's take a first look at your First Warn Storm Team forecast. In for Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis, here is meteorologist Howie Gordon with a look at what's going on outside. Howie, you could look at heat waves coming off the ground right now.
You're pretty much correct there, Don. 104, last I checked, was our high so far, unless it recalibrates and we see something different. And heat indices pushing 111, 112 in Cuero right now. So we got knocked down to reality for a day or two and right back to where we've been really all summer long. A little breezy, you get the air kind of mixing a little bit during the early hours of the day, and you see those winds picking up. They usually calm down though, like they did last night. They should do that again later tonight. We'll be in the 80s. Overnight dropping down to 75 degrees. I'm going to talk about it in my full forecast. We could see a little fog overnight, some areas of patchy fog, and plus a cool front headed our way. We'll talk all about it in just a bit, Don.
Howie, thank you. A man accused of shooting and wounding 2 San Antonio police officers and injuring a 3rd officer facing a long list of criminal charges in connection with this incident. KSAT reports the suspect is 28-year-old Jesse Garcia Jr. Garcia taken into custody late Thursday night after an hours-long standoff with police at an apartment. Bail for Garcia set at about $4 million. The 2 officers who were shot now in stable condition. Firefighters worked to take out a large fire at the Texas State Penitentiary early this morning. Huntsville firefighters received multiple reports of heavy smoke at the prison at around 2 a.m. About 655 inmates evacuated overnight. At this time, no injuries reported. Multiple fire units and several other mutual aid fire departments assisted Huntsville in putting out the fire in other areas of the prison. Work on the De Leon Plaza expansion project continues this weekend. Starting Sunday, Main Street will close between Goodwin Avenue and Constitution Street for 2 weeks for utility installation and traffic signal reconfiguration at the intersection of Main and Forest Streets. All businesses in the area will remain open and accessible. We are just hours away from opening kickoff for the game of the week. High school football is back between the two birds, El Campo Rice Birds and Cuero Gobblers. 25 News Now sports reporter Zach Brown live in the Gobbler capital of the world with the latest. Zach?
That's right, Don. That time of year already, week 1 of the Texas high school football season. We're here at Gobbler Stadium for our game of the week. And what a storyline this is. Last time Cuero won the state championship, they were led by head coach Travis Reeve. Well, Coach Reeve is back in Gobbler Stadium tonight, but this time on the other sideline. He already said it'll be a little different, no doubt, but he's excited for the return. And once these two hit the field, those emotions have to go away. Cuero, a tough team that beat El Campo handily last year. The Rice Birds looking to return that favor this year. Even without Ruben Owens, they still have D1 talent in Oliver Miles, who is arguably the best athlete on the field and can strike at any moment. The Rice Birds enter this year ranked at number 9. And while the Cuero Gobblers are the likely favorite to win this game, those who know Gobbler football know to never bet against a Travis Reeve coached team. We'll have more from this game tonight at 6. Reporting live, Zach Brown, KVUE TV 25 News Now Sports.
Thank you, Zach. Huge game there at Gobbler Stadium. And here's your viewer poll this afternoon. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. Here's the question. Will the heat keep you from going to a high school football game tonight? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And I'll have an update on what you and your neighbors are saying on 25 News Now at 6. And for more on today's news stories, come to our website, crossroadstoday.com. Read about the Victoria East Titans preparing for week 1 of their football season. That's under news, and catch up on all news CFL under the CFL football tag. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5. The Kremlin denies allegations they were involved in the Russian plane crash that killed 10 people, including the chief mercenary leader. Also ahead, a large spool found loose on a freeway in Katy.
Here's a look at Community Crossroads this weekend. We first sit down with fashion designer Shayla Abigail, followed by Dr. Gary Butler, followed by Hope of South Texas, and of course we have a stunning performance by the Jerry James Band.
Putin's spokesperson has rejected allegations that the Kremlin was behind a plane crash that is presumed to have killed mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin. He conducted a brief mutiny in Russia 2 months ago. He was listed among those on board the private jet and was eulogized Thursday by Putin. A preliminary U.S. intelligence assessment concluded that the plane was downed by an intentional explosion. Nearly 400 people still unaccounted for in Maui County after the devastating wildfires earlier this month. Authorities released what they called a validated list of names put together by the FBI to help identify those on the list who's accounted for. At least 115 people died, making it the deadliest wildfire disaster in the U.S. in more than 100 years. So far, 100% of the single-story homes in the disaster area have been searched. The CDC says about 25 million people have asthma in the U.S. While there are many triggers for asthma attacks, a new report shows the dangers of wildfire smoke for people affected by the disease.
From April into August, smoke from wildfires in Canada seeped into the U.S., triggering poor quality air alerts for millions.
Would walk out of the office and it was visible, the haziness in the air. You could smell smoke.
In Ohio, Dr. Joseph Cabaza with Cleveland Clinic says he had a lot of asthma patients who reported worsening symptoms.
I still have patients even, today who just have not felt back at their baseline since the wildfire smokes of earlier.
A new report from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention compared asthma-related emergency department visits looking at normal days and 19 days with wildfire smoke in the U.S. at levels deemed unhealthy for sensitive people. On smoky days, visits were 17% higher than expected. A separate study found New Jersey and New York saw an 82% jump in asthma-associated ER visits within days of smoke blanketing the area in June.
All of our air is going to have these tiny particles in it during the worst times of wildfires.
Cabaza says that's why it's important for people with asthma to do their best to control it. He says medicines can help. You should also pay attention to local air quality conditions. When it's poor, stay inside if you can. If you go out, use an N95 respirator mask and consider air filtration at home.
That's going to be very helpful getting out these tiny particles that really can irritate people from asthma and really keeping out those particles from your home.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
New COVID-19 vaccines will likely hit drugstores in mid-September. The FDA expected to approve the updated vaccines in a few weeks. Then an advisory committee with the CDC will make their recommendations. After the CDC director signs off, the vaccines then can be administered. Biden administration leaders say these shots were tweaked to fight the current crop of circulating variants. Right now, the U.S. is seeing an uptick in COVID-19 cases. Here's a spiel on a spool. A bizarre sight on the road in Houston, a large spool found in the middle of a freeway.
Here we go again, another one.
Houston drivers were forced to slow down yet again Thursday for an industrial spool smack in the middle of the Katy freeway. And it's not the first time. 4 years ago, this giant spool on a truck got stuck under an overpass, causing a gridlock for hours. And in 2018, 5 runaway spools in all, blocking lanes, wreaking havoc.
Call 911.
Some drivers questioning whether Houston has gone from Space City to Spool City.
When I made the tweet, that's what I put, Spool City. Well, my phone auto-corrected to spoil, but I meant Spool City.
Zach Vega was driving home from work when he saw a wooden spool damage a truck.
Tires, I've seen everything, but to see an actual spool and how it's been going on, it was kind of like, oh, okay, my turn to see one, I guess. It's crazy, it's dangerous, and I think it's irresponsibility on someone's behalf. You got to strap them down correctly.
Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
The latest spool reportedly came off an 18-wheeler. Houston police say it's the responsibility of all drivers to properly secure their loads. And today marks the 6-year anniversary of Hurricane Harvey making landfall in South Texas. 25 News Now morning anchor and meteorologist Parker Cox has more on this on our website, crossroadstoday.com.
So some overnight fog, then maybe a cool front headed our way. We'll talk all about it straight ahead. All right, so I was talking about, hey, a possible cool front. Maybe Tuesday. We'll get into that. Yes, the heat continues. Now, I'm saying eye on the Gulf. Doesn't mean we're looking at problems, but hey, I'll show you in just a little bit. All right, here's what we got today. 104 degrees. That was a record tying yesterday, but today, hey, 106 back in 1924, so a little short. It may recalibrate. Don't think we'll reach 106, but hey, either way, the heat jets, the heat furnace is continuing here in South Texas. Here's a look at our radar. Now, really, for the most part, we had a few pop-up showers yesterday. We could see some of those later today, but most locations staying completely on the dry side. And very much the same as yesterday, we had some 20, 30 mile per hour gusts earlier in the day. You get the lower level air starting to mix with the upper level air. That changes things up in pressure. And yeah, we start to see these winds. Then it starts to calm later on. And we'll see winds probably in this range, very similar again to what we experienced yesterday. Excessive heat watches and warnings, heat advisories. You see my hand here. We were not in this area yesterday. Now we're starting to fill up again as the heat returned. Remember, the heat left us for a couple days with that tropical storm, but back in business at the moment, and Texas is not the only place where we're very much on the hot side. Pretty much all of the southeast and into portions of the Midwest as well. All right, in the 80s on the coast, you move inland, not as stuffy, but 63 on a regular day time period. Yeah, we stress, hey, 60, 63, that gets to be a little unnecessary. Here we are for the heat indices now. Okay, we were 104 for ambient. Just a moment ago, we were 111 in Victoria, but still 112 over there in Cuero. Yeah, the heat just does not want to go away. It might last all summer long the way things are going. Here's our future look at our heat index temperatures. Here is what we got. What? Look at this. 101, 97. I talked about a potential cool cold front. Hey, maybe it's ringing to become true. Now, here's what we got. we still have some surface moisture, low-level moisture in the area with high pressure pushing down. What's going to happen? Yes, we could see some areas of fog overnight and into the morning hours. It is Friday. I know traffic should be a little lighter, but hey, if you're getting up and going for the weekend, some spots getting taken down visibility-wise, down to maybe 2 miles or less in some spots. So drive on the safe side. All right, I talked about it. Let's discuss it now with everyone here. Here's what we got. Here's our cold front. Now, is it going to make it all the way down into the crossroads? That is, I want to say the problem, but is it going to be able to make it all the way? As the high vacates the area, that might open up the door for this cold front boundary to make it all the way into South Texas. The thing is, or the issue is, as this boundary comes from the north and starts hitting areas where we have hotter air than the crossroads, it's going to modify. And by the time this boundary makes it all the way to the crossroads, it might not be a cold front anymore, maybe just a dry line boundary. But what's going to happen is, I don't think it's going to affect the temperatures too much at all. What's going to do, maybe some moisture runs into some of the sea breeze and the moisture and the lift. Hey, that might trigger a few showers for us. That's days away. We'll talk all about it as we get closer. 93 for the water, seas 2 feet, bays on the smooth side. All right, now this feature here, it's changed a little. It's looking to hit the Florida Panhandle area and then move all the way up to the north. Same thing going on in the tropics out here with Franklin staring away, but Bermuda is a concern. And then we have those other features out there in the northern and central Atlantic Ocean. We'll keep an eye on them. We'll be in the 80s this evening, overnight dropping down to 75 degrees. I talked about that fog. You want to be careful with that fog. Tomorrow, 101 could have some early fog, but we're going to be a little bit on the gusty, breezy side. That fog will go away. And looking ahead to the rest of the week, that boundary comes down, but look, it doesn't really impact our temperatures. So more than anything, it might increase our rain chances as it makes its way into the crossroads sometime Tuesday morning. For more weather, news, and sports, you can go to our app. That's at crossroadstoday.com, and that is free with any Android and iPhone. And now we go back to Don Brubaker.
Howie, thank you. And coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we'll take a last look at your stocks. Plus, the United Auto Workers have voted to approve possible strikes against Ford, GM, and Stellantis. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow up 172 points, the S&P 500 adding 17 points, and the Nasdaq up 46 points. Oil up 78 cents, closing at $79.83 a barrel. Members of the United Auto Workers Union have overwhelmingly approved possible strikes against the big three automakers, General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. The union demanding huge pay raises of at least 40% to match the pay increases the chief executive officers of the big three got. They are also trying to win back many of the concessions it lost more than 15 years ago and protect its members during the transition to electric vehicles. The Federal Reserve could be raising interest rates again. That was announced Friday at the Kansas City Fed's annual economic symposium in Jackson Hole, Wyoming today. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says additional hikes are on the table because inflation remains too high.
Although inflation has moved down from its peak, a welcome development, it remains too high. We are prepared to raise rates further if appropriate and intend to hold policy at a restrictive level until we are confident that inflation is moving sustainably down toward our objective.
He added that loan growth has slowed, which is a troubling sign for the broader economy and could slow economic growth. Stay with us. We'll take one last look at your forecast. Plus, Beyonce shares her birthday wish for her fans attending her upcoming concerts. And now here's a look at what's coming up on World News Tonight right after 25 News Now at 5.
Coming up, at least 7 tornadoes slam the Midwest as we're tracking new tropical threats off the coast. And former President Trump's move to capitalize on that historic mugshot. And details just coming in on a fighter jet crash in California. Up next.
News on B-Day. Beyonce has made her birthday wish known. The Queen, the Houston native, currently touring the U.S. for her Renaissance tour. She recently posted on her website and Instagram asking fans attending one of her upcoming concerts between now and September 2nd to celebrate by wearing her favorite color, silver. Her birthday this year falls on Labor Day, September 4th. She turns 42. And Beyonce was asking also if the fans wear silver, make sure that it's put on to the left, to the left, to the left. Okay.
Is that one of her songs?
That's one of her songs.
I like that.
That's one of her songs.
She looks a lot younger than 42.
I'm telling you what, she looks great, and our weather looks really hot.
You got that one, Don. You know what? I could probably go home and say you got it from here on out. Yes, we're very much on the hot side. Look at this, 104 ambient, but heat indices 110 plus. We cooled down for 2 days. Now we're right back at it. This evening we'll be in the 80s. Now overnight we could see some patchy fog. It looks to develop during the early morning hours. And then here's what we got for tomorrow. 101 degrees. I got that early fog. There will be breezy. Those winds will get rid of that fog as the winds start to pick up. 101 for tomorrow. And then looking ahead to the rest of the week, here's what we got. Yeah, Don knows his stuff. It's Don Brubaker weekend with the day coming on Sunday, and he knows his weather and the world around him, because here we go for Saturday. 108 with those heat indices. A few days, 113. But look at that. 100 degrees across the board for our ambient temperatures. Lots of sun. A possible cool down, though, maybe early on in the week, Don.
You know how I know that? On all my tests when I was in school, I made 100. There you go. Howie, thank you, and thanks for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir up next is Howie Thinks About It.
I don't get that, Don.